going on, guys? SkiveWalker here, and today we are going to be talking all about the NBA, talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers, the upcoming playoffs. Man, I'm excited. I haven't been this excited for the playoffs since 2016 when the Cavs won the title, and here's why. I think the Cavs have a legitimate shot this year. I really, really think the Cavs have a good shot at winning this entire thing. Through all the ups and downs of the season, even though the Eastern Conference is getting better and Philly looks pretty darn good this year. Even though Toronto looks like the best team in the Eastern Conference until they play the Cavs. Through all the mishaps that have happened this year, through all the ups and the downs, what seems like this season has gone on for years. Because let's be honest, how long ago does it seem when we had Isaiah Thomas on the bench? Waiting for his return, waiting for him to come back on the court, waiting for him to just team up with LeBron James and be a dynamic duo like him and Kyrie Irving were. And then he wasn't. And then the trade deadline came. And he was making too many waves in the locker room and calling too many people out and just not being a good teammate. And then he's gone. But now we got Jordan Clarkson. We got George Hill. We got Larry Nance Jr. We got all these guys to come in here. We got Rodney Hood, which I think was the best acquisition we could have got. As much as I like Jordan Clarkson, I think Jordan Clarkson has a similar skill set to Kyrie Irving. Not saying he's the same overall player, obviously. Kyrie Irving is just a phenomenal talent and a phenomenal player. But he has the same kind of skill set where he can score with the ball. He's just a scorer. That's why him and LeBron work so well together. Even with all the adversity that the Cavaliers have faced this year, in what seems like a season that has lasted forever, the Cavaliers are coming into shape at the right time. Even though they had that blunder against Philly, and for whatever reason just couldn't stop anybody, they're looking like a basketball team. If only they can fix their defense, they will be okay. But they're scoring a bunch of points. LeBron is getting ready to engage in playoff basketball mode, and we all know that LeBron James is a different LeBron James. Here's what's scary about it this year. He's put up MVP-like numbers this year, and it's not the playoffs yet. So playoff LeBron is going to be even better, I think. I don't think we've seen the best of LeBron this year, and we've seen a better LeBron than we have in years past. LeBron wants to win, and he wants to win with this team, and here's why. This is not the most talented team he's ever had. If he wins with this team, he may get close to that Michael Jordan talk for everybody. To me, I think LeBron James is the best overall player of all time. If I'm asked to pick a player who I'm going to start my franchise with, out of anybody who's ever played and at a young age, I'm still going to take Michael Jordan over LeBron James. Even though I think LeBron's a better player. Because I think Michael Jordan's a better leader. And just for that, I think just that alone. And I think Michael Jordan just has that drive to win. I think LeBron has it too, but it's not the same. You had to physically beat down Michael Jordan to beat him. Michael Jordan just refused to lose. And I think that's something that LeBron is missing in his game. I also don't think LeBron's a very good leader. Even though I think he's the better overall player. And he can do more than what Michael Jordan could ever do, I would still rather take Michael Jordan. But not taking away from anything that LeBron's done or what he's going to do. He very easily could get 3 more titles and tie Michael Jordan with 6. You're going to have your MJ enthusiasts who say, yeah, but Michael won 6 without a loss. He's 6-0 in the finals. Well, I think finals should matter and championships should matter. But I don't think it should be the end-all, be-all. I think you should also watch the games, see how they played. And I think LeBron is just a better overall player. He's a better passer, he's a better rebounder, and he's a better scorer, percentage-wise. But now we're going to talk a little bit more about the Cavs. The Cleveland Cavaliers have won the Central Division title for the 4th year in a row. Let's get some celebration, guys. We've won the division again. 4th time in a row, the Cavs are Central Division champions. Now, here in Cleveland, we probably take that for granted, and some people probably don't even know that we play in the Central Division. Just because since LeBron came back, it's been championship or bust. But still, even though championship is the most important goal, don't take lightly winning the division. That's still something that should be celebrated. It's something you should be ecstatic for. It's the first step in winning a title. Winning the division, getting confidence. It's something that should be celebrated that isn't celebrated as much in basketball as it is in baseball or as it is in football. You won the whole division. Be happy about it. Celebrate about it. You're the best team in the division. Your next step is to be the best team in the conference, which I already think the Cavs are. But here's another crazy stat for you. So the Cavs have won the Central Division 4 times. LeBron James himself has officially won whatever division he's played in 10 years in a row. 10 straight years, LeBron James has won his division. He won the Central 6 times now in a row since he's played in there. When he went to Miami and joined the Southeast Division, he won that 4 times in a row. Whatever team he's been on has won the division 10 years in a row. That's pretty impressive. I'm not sure how many other all-time great players or players in general can say that. A truly remarkable stat for a truly remarkable player that is coming down at the end of his career. I still think he's probably got 5 or 6 left in him. Maybe even more of just basketball playing years, but elite status, probably 5 more years in him. At most, I would say. That would put him at 38. But hey, you still got a shot. You still got LeBron James. He's still going to break even more records. So let's dive right into this. So, first and foremost, before we get into the playoff breakdown, which this time I got correctly, and I looked a little bit more into it, and this is not even 100% locked because this playoff can go upside down. It's going to go down to the next 2 days. I'm talking about this on Tuesday, April 9th, right? April 10th? April 10th. Tomorrow is April 11th. And this is about to go nuts. It has the potential to go nuts. So right now, the hottest race in the East is between the Cavaliers and the 76ers. The Cavaliers right now stand at 4. If Philly loses one of their next 2 games, assuming Cleveland wins on Wednesday, if Philly wins both of them, they will say the 3 seed. If Philly loses one of them and they tie with the Cavs, the tie goes to Cleveland, and Cleveland is now the 3 seed. Okay? Now, the rest of the East it's basically locked up. The East, we know what teams are going to be in it. We just don't know to what extent yet. To 100% sure of where they're going to be seed-wise. Okay? Not where it's not going to be too complicated, I would say. But for the most part, it's basically figured out. You still could have Milwaukee and Miami swap places just because they're only 1 game apart. But for the most part, that's where it's going to stay. Now, here's where it's going to get interesting. In the Western Conference, Minnesota and Denver are tied for the 8th spot. Here's where it gets interesting. They play each other on Wednesday. The winner is the 8th seed, and the loser is out. And the game is in Minnesota. So I'm going to take Minnesota to win that game. Not that it matters because they're going to run into the Rockets and probably get swept. But it still makes for an interesting scenario where the 8th seed is going to come down to the last day. And here's something else crazy. The West can change so dramatically. Seeds 3 through 7 are all within 1 game of each other. All within 1 game. Seeds 3 through 7 can change. We're going to talk about just what is set for today and how the seeds are breakdown today. Okay? So we're going to start off with the Eastern Conference, considering that's where the Cavs play at. So in the very first game, as of today, you have the Toronto Raptors against the Washington Wizards. I think Toronto's going to win that one in 4. I don't see Toronto having too much trouble with Washington, and they're going to move on rather easily. Now, the 2 seed, Boston in Miami. Normally, I would say Boston will win this one probably running away. However, they've not only lost Gordon Hayward, they've lost Kyrie Irving. I think they just don't have enough talent to sweep them. I think Boston is still a very good team and still has the best coach in Brad Stevens. I'm picking Boston in 7. 6 or 7. I'm going to say 7. I think Boston's going to struggle just a little bit with a more veteran Heat team. I still think Boston's more talented, and I think Boston will get through, but it's not going to be easy. Then you go to Philly, Milwaukee. If that stays where it's at, that is going to be an amazing, amazing series. The Greek Freak and Jabari Parker and Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. What more can you ask for in a first-round matchup than something like that? I'm going to take Philly in 6. I'm not saying it's going to be an easy one. It's going to be very tough. I just don't think Milwaukee's going to have enough in them. But they could. It's going to be a very tough matchup for both teams, so I'm going to take Philly in 6. Then you have the Cavs and the Pacers. I think the Cavs are going to sweep the Pacers. I just don't think Philly or Indianapolis has the talent. I don't think they don't have anybody to stop LeBron. Victor Oladipo is having a great year, but come on. Victor Oladipo or LeBron James, or Victor Oladipo or Kevin Love, and the Cavs still have the talent, and they're just going to win. They're just a flat-out better ball team. Now we'll head over to the West. We'll break everything down by conference, or by rounds, I should say. So in the first round, Houston, and I'm going to take Minnesota to beat Denver. I'm going to say Minnesota steals one in Minnesota, and Houston wins in 5. Houston's just an overall great team. There's not a whole lot more you can say. Minnesota's on the up and coming. They're still too young. They're still not ready just yet, but they are coming. Then you have Golden State and OKC, which is funny about this matchup because sorry about that. I had some work stuff I had to deal with. But anyways, so back to what I was saying. Golden State and OKC. What's funny about this matchup is that OKC, as of just a couple days ago, may not have made it to the playoffs, if not for a scenario that went their way. However, I think this matchup proves a little bit difficult than what the Warriors are used to in the first couple rounds of the playoffs. And I don't know if the Warriors are going to be 100% healthy or not. And for that reason, I'm going to take the Warriors, but I think it's going to go 6. I really, really think this matchup is going to go 6 games. And it could go 7 games. I think Paul George can match up with Kevin Durant decently. Obviously, I think Durant's the better player. But I think with Westbrook and Paul George, they might make this a series out of it. And it's going to be especially with Steven Adams down there in the post, this could be interesting. I would not be too surprised if OKC pulls up the upset. I'm still picking Golden State to win. But the Thunder could very easily make this a very, very interesting series and even could upset the Golden State Warriors. Now for the 3 and 6, Portland and San Antonio. With Kawhi Leonard not playing, San Antonio is going to get bounced. And I'm going to pick Portland in 6. I'm going to say 5, but I think Popovich can win just about 2 games on his own. But it's going to get interesting. I mean, it could be a decent series. But Portland, I think Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum are just going to prove too much for San Antonio without Kawhi Leonard. That's going to be it. So Portland's going to move on. Then you have Utah and New Orleans. My MVP pick, Anthony Davis, is going to beat Utah in 7. It's going to be a old-fashioned slobber knocker basketball game. A lot of post presence, not a ton of three-pointers, not a ton of offense. It's going to be a grinded-out game, and I think New Orleans will finish it off because they have Anthony Davis and because he's one of the best players in basketball. Going back to the Eastern Conference, then you have Toronto and Cleveland. The two best teams in the East face off before the Eastern Conference Finals. I think the Cavs win in 6. I don't even think it'll be too difficult of a series for Cleveland to win in 6. I think the home team wins every time except the 6th game where Cleveland goes to Toronto and closes it out. And I think Cleveland is 100% healthy and 100% fresh, waiting for Philly. And I think the 76ers will beat Boston in 5 games. I'll give Brad Stevens 1 win. But overall, they just don't have the talent to match up with the 76ers without Kyrie Irving, without Gordon Hayward. And Philly is going to almost complete the process and go to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in what feels like a very long time. At least since I can remember watching basketball. So now you have the Western Conference. Houston and New Orleans. Houston will win in 4 games. The honeymoon will be over for the Pelicans, and Anthony Davis alone is not going to be enough to overcome James Harden, Chris Paul, and Clint Capella. And Houston's going to sweep them and make quick work of them. Then you go to Portland and Golden State. We've already seen this matchup. We just haven't seen them with Damian Lillard. I still think Golden State will win in 5. Portland may push it to 6. But overall, what really matters is Golden State's going to win that series. So now you're in the Western Conference Finals with Golden State and with Houston. And on the Eastern Conference side, you have the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Philadelphia 76ers. The Cavs win in 6. I don't think the Sixers are ready for playoff LeBron and the playoff Cavs. Playoff Cavs are a much, much different team than they are in the regular season. They always prove to be that way. I think the Cavs win in 6. On the Western side, I'm taking Houston in 7. That's right. The Golden State Warriors' reign of terror ends this year. There will be no repeat. There will be no happy ending for the Golden State Warriors. And I think the Warriors will come back about 90% healthy. And I think the Rockets win. And they win in 7. And the finals matchup has begun. The Cleveland Cavaliers and the Houston Rockets. And I think the Rockets start that series off 2-0. I don't think there's any reason to believe the Cavs will win in Houston. At least not right off the rip. Houston wins the first 2. They go back to Cleveland. And they give LeBron a shot back at home. And LeBron takes 2 from Houston. And they don't lose at home. You go to Game 5. This one is going to be a slobber knocker because Houston knows if Cleveland wins this, they can win it in 6. And so do the Cavs. But the Rockets are going to be in desperation mode, and they're going to win Game 5. Pushing it to Game 6 in Cleveland, in the land. Houston's going to be trying to win their first title in a very long time. Cleveland is going to try to push it to a Game 7, and they will. And they're going to win this game by 7. Game 7, as I've said before, anything can happen. Even though it's in Houston, even though it's going to be a tough environment, both teams are going to be battle-tested. Both teams are going to be ready for this. But ultimately, the Cleveland Cavaliers have LeBron James and the Houston Rockets don't. And the Cleveland Cavaliers get to host up their second Lombardi trophy in the history of the franchise and get to keep LeBron James right where he's at. Now, here's the question to everybody. Do the Cleveland Cavaliers really keep the Brooklyn pick? I know I'm moving on pretty quick from the finals to the draft. Here's why I say this. As much as I would love the Cavs to take a center, do you think they talk to the San Antonio Spurs on what they want? Kawhi Leonard's going to gain a lot of interest on the trade market with not wanting to play in San Antonio. it's going to get pretty interesting to see what happens. Cleveland will have to make the pick. Due to the rule where they can't trade 2 first-rounders back-to-back years, they have to make the pick. But do they make the pick that the Cavs want? Or do they make the pick that the Spurs want? And do they re-sign LeBron James and add Kawhi Leonard into the mix with LeBron and Kevin Love? Because then you could be a very good defensive team. Throwing in an all-star defensive player and putting him alongside LeBron and making LeBron maybe play a little bit more defense than he has in years past. Making Kevin Love play a little bit better defense than what he's been playing. And I'm not complaining about Kevin Love's defense. I think he's played better defense than most people thought he would since he came here. His first year, he struggled a little bit, but I think he's really coming into his own here in his role here in Cleveland. And I think he's really enjoying his time here. And I think he's playing better than he's probably ever played in his career. But that's something interesting for the postseason, something we can talk about later on. But those are my predictions for the NBA Finals. If you disagree, leave a comment. That's what it's for. Tell us if we're doing a good job. Tell us if we're doing a terrible job. But leave a comment. Interact with us. We want to talk to you guys. We want to get your opinions. We want to get your feedback. Whatever it is, leave us a comment. Leave us your predictions. Tell us what you think is going to happen this year. Tell us who you think is going to win the MVP. I already gave you my MVP pick. I already talked about this in a video prior. But I think the Cleveland Cavaliers have a good chance of winning this year. Good as chance as anybody. The Rockets look downright unbeatable, but they don't have LeBron James. They just don't have that one guy who's going to push them over the top like LeBron James can do. Now, if LeBron wasn't here, the Cavs would probably be kicked out in the first round of the playoffs. I think they're still a good enough team to make it to the playoffs, just in the way that the Eastern Conference is right now. But LeBron James is going to make this team win a championship this year. I really, truly feel like the Cavs are going to win the championship this year. And LeBron is going to have 3 or 4 of them now. He would win his 4th. And I think it'll be just enough to keep LeBron James happy in Cleveland. I think he's going to resign in Cleveland regardless. I don't think, other than maybe Houston, LA for LeBron just doesn't make sense. Why would you go want to play with one of the Ball sons or one of the Ball brothers, and why would you want to have any of that headache in LA? Sure, they can trade LeVar Ball, or maybe they can even cut him, but is it worth all that hassle? Is it worth the headache of even trying to be their teammate? Not only that, LA just doesn't have a great team. I think Paul George is going to stay in OKC. I think Paul George is happy playing along with Russell Westbrook. If he goes to LA, all power to him. But even LeBron and Paul George aren't going to be enough together to get out of that Western Conference. Just by themselves. The Lakers can have a good team here in a couple years. I have nothing against the LA Lakers. But it just doesn't make sense for LeBron winning-wise. It doesn't make sense for his legacy to leave Cleveland again. Not only to leave Cleveland for a far worse team than what the Cavaliers have currently. From a business perspective, maybe it makes sense. But he already has a $1 billion contract with Nike. He already has plenty of endorsements that he gets right here in Cleveland, Ohio. He already gets movie roles. What's there more in LA? The world's changing. LA, New York, the big markets. The way with social media anymore, you don't have to be in a big-time market to get a ton of money and to get a ton of recognition. He can stay in Cleveland and get all that. And you play with a better team. And you might possibly have the number 1 pick coming in. Or Kawhi Leonard. Or anybody they can trade that pick to. Anything is possible with this Cavaliers team. The future is bright with or without LeBron James. And some of you may question why it could be bright without LeBron James. Well, sure, you're losing probably the best player that's ever played. And you're going to be left with Kevin Love and a rookie. But that rookie could be very, very, very good. And can still make the Cavaliers a destination that players would want to go to because they'll have a good enough team. And maybe it only takes that one guy to put him over the hump. But either way, I think LeBron's staying here. I think the Cavs actually have a good shot at getting Kawhi Leonard. I think the Cavs have a good shot at possibly repeating next year as long as everybody molds well and gels well. And hey, we signed Kendrick Perkins again. But you know what? I think that's going to be it for me, guys. It's going to be pushing a 30-minute video. Got some stuff I got to edit, but that's all right. So, again, leave a comment. Let me know what your things are, or what your thoughts are, what your opinions are, how you're feeling coming up towards the NBA season. We already know Har Binks thinks Toronto's going to beat Cleveland, and Cleveland's going to get kicked out of the playoffs. Whereas I think, and I could be a homer pick, I'm thinking the Cavs are going to win the whole stinking thing and hoist the Lombardi Trophy once again. But I got nothing else to add. So, if you like the video, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you never, ever miss a single episode, and you always get a notification on your phone when we drop an episode. Other than that, guys, that's it. Skywalker, signing out. Peace.